Hello, happy Friday. And you know what that means? Food Safety Fridays. Just one more thing to do before the weekend. And today, our good friend Vladimir Sachinsky is joining us, and he's going to talk about food defense in transport. Very important topic. We've got almost 1,200 registered, 170 something online. Very popular, Vladimir, as usual.
Thank you very much, Simon. Yeah, I have seen that a lot of people have registered for this topic, so I expect it will be very interesting, to talk about.
They've come to see you, not me, by the way.
Thank you very much. That's why I dressed nicely. Yeah?
Yes, I know. Okay, so tell us where you're joining from in the sidebar, everybody. Averia from Pakistan, Elio from London, Tasneem from Canada, Eniola from Nigeria, Betsy from Venezuela, Catalina from Colombia, Maritza from Aruba. Wow, everywhere, literally everywhere. Okay, I'll hand it over to you, Vladimir. I'll be back for the Q&A later.
Thank you very much. I will start it and we go. So, hello everyone, once again. Good evening, good morning, good day, depending from where you are. I see some people from California saying good morning. Yes, good morning to you. Hello everyone else. And today it's a very interesting topic. I see that and I know that because almost, as Simon said, 12,000 people registered for this, and this is a topic that is really gaining its momentum, I would say. Yeah. Why is that? It's because we somehow have a gray area when we talk about the transporting of food, mainly because all the standards are focusing on the production facility, and mainly these standards are and certification schemes are saying that we need to implement the food defense in the production. Some of them says, yeah, you should apply to transport, but is it really applied in a way as it should be? So today, my idea was that I transfer the collected knowledge from MFIT, International Association for Supply Chain Safety, and to give you a lots of new information I think that will be valuable for you to implement in future or take care about when we talk about the food defense real practice in transport of food. So probably, and I think now most of you already know me because we are together more than 10 years with the IFSQN, and I thanks to Simon and also the team behind the IFSQN for organizing these webinars for us, which, you know, we share the knowledge among 80,000 now people all around the world, food safety professionals. This is really great because also my development as a food safety professional was together with the IFSQN. I started as an auditor and trainer at that time together with the IFSQN. But now I'm with the MFIT as a vice president and CEO in MFIT Association. So I think that from my time as I worked in a retail, through the certification body, as an auditor, as a trainer, and then coming as a person from the supply chain, you will have the opportunity to understand from different sides, different point of views when we talk about the food safety topics, but especially and specifically today about the food defense in transport. So first of all, why food defense is relevant in transport? Well, actually, it became much more relevant when we talk about the transport because this is really a part of the supply chain that is not protected sufficiently. How I know that? Because we have seen a lot of situations that recent situation in 2024 in China, for example, where transporting tankers, raw tankers were contaminated with the non-edible oil in the tanks that should transport food. And how this happened, nobody still has the information how actually happened, but probably they say it was a mistake, but it could be also an intentional mistake or sabotage where you can contaminate the product with some of the previous load. It is still under investigation, no clear information about that. But then you find out also what could be a critical place there for the contamination in transport. So let's look how our food system works. Yeah. First of all, I will show you that many opportunities for intentional contamination can happen, or for sabotage can happen in a food supply chain. Let's take, for example, that food for or the feed, yeah, for animals is also transported by different types of transporting. Let's take also in count the bulk transport in silo containers, for example, and we can see that in case that this feed is sabotaged or intentionally contaminated, we can have a situation where our livestock, where our animals are poisoned, for example, or food just doesn't come to the site of the farms. And in that case, animals will not have the food or will die from the food that is contaminated. This could mean actually that you don't have eggs, you don't have milk, and you don't have meat. So main sources for now of the proteins is just not reachable anymore. So you see how this supply chain of transport becomes really crucial and becomes really risky when we talk about especially transporting the products in bulk, in silo, in IBC containers, etc. So when we talk about the supply chain is consisted from making raw materials, transporting it in different type of transporting units, then goes to the primary production. Again, we have some kind of product that is transported in different transport units to the secondary production, and at the end we have a retail store. So you see, this supply chain becomes even more complex when we take into account that transports are moved from one country to another country, from one continent to another continent, that one transport unit can transport different kind of transport, different kind of loads, and that it has a lot of stopping, loading, unloading, etc. So when we talk about actually risk factors, or where are the place of potential threats that could happen and that are connected with the food defense, it can happen at the loading process, and there could be threats connected with entrance to the location and protection of the location. There could be threats connected with pre-loading controls of transport unit, then protection measures during the loading, and of course protection of the load after the loading. Of course, there are transport unit risks connected with transporting unit as itself. These are continual use and suitability of transport units after a while. You know, some of the transport units are produced and then they're for 20 years in use, yeah? Which means that you can have loose leads, that you can have some damaged parts, that you can have some materials in contact with food that are not suitable anymore. And of course, the big problem comes with what was the previous load, of course. Some regular tests and certifications are just missing there and are big risk. Design of the sealing places for prevention of any sabotage or fraudulent activities, besides the intentional contamination potential, is there active. Again, connected with transport unit risk are the driving routes, stopping, parking, and overnight protection. So this comes to the situation that goes with unloading processes. This is entrance to location, pre-unloading controls, sealing controls, product controls, etc. So all of these places are places where threat can happen. And beside all of these places that we are used to, there is also one place that commonly is forgotten, and this is called a cleaning station. Yeah. So this cleaning station is actually something where cleaning of the transport unit happens, and here also some threats could happen because of mitigation measures that are not in place, because lack of training of employees, because lack of understanding of the cleaning procedures, or also lack of understanding how to do the sealing and sealing procedures. So I will show you also some of the examples connected with this, but first of all, I think that you already have a question like why, or isn't this something that is already regulated, that is already standardized? Well, when we look at what is really regulated and what is really standardized, we need to take into consideration who is a food business operator. I'm often commenting about this, and I'm often saying in several presentations or webinars this year that food business operators are only those who are handling the food. So this means the producer, this means the transporter, this means the warehouse, retail store. They are all handling the food product. But when it comes to those in the supply chain that are not handling the product, like cleaning stations, they are not considered as food business operators, which means that they're not under direct influence of the food legislation and also not under direct influence of the certification schemes that are there. But let's look at the regulation that is active and that is there. So we have in EU regulation like Regulation 178, which establishes the general principles and requirements of food law, including traceability, responsibilities of food business operators, protection against food safety risks during transportation. But this is only a food safety. Of course, we have some of those that are focusing a little bit on the defense, and this is directive of 2555, which is focuses on cybersecurity requirements. Okay, so this could also focuses on food businesses and logistic operators that are subject to obligation around IT infrastructure. But then what about the product? Then we have also directive of 2557, which addresses the physical and operational resilience of critical entities, including food logistic and infrastructure providers. So this requires risk assessment and continuity planning. Okay, now we have a real regulation that says we need to do something about it, yeah? And this gives the requirement for the transporters and logisticians to do something. In USA, when we look at the FUSMA rules, there is intentional adulteration rule. It mandates food defense plans for facilities that manufacture, process, pack, or hold food. And this includes, of course, some threats or vulnerability assessment and mitigation strategies, of course, critical for businesses, especially businesses exporting to the US. There are several tools made by FDA. One of the most known is Food Defense Plan Builder, which could be used also to evaluate the systems for the transporting and logistic. But I will explain you later how these tools like Food Defense Plan Builder, like Carver through shock tool method, is sometimes not really applicable to the process of transporting and transport cleaning. Of course, beside the regulation in countries, we have also a specific GFSI certification schemes. These are global foods, GFSI certification, certification schemes. When we talk about them, some of them I will mention here, like PRC, like IFS Food, IFS Logistic, FSSC 22000, SQF, of course, depending on the market where you are, depending on the country. And these global food safety initiative certification schemes are giving also the requirement for the food defense. So in every of these standards, you will find the requirement for food defense. And in general, what it says is that you need to do the threat analysis. Based on that, you need to do some mitigation measures. You need to define food defense plan. You need to do the review of this food defense plan minimally once per year, but it doesn't give you real inputs that you need to do. It just says you need to do it, but it doesn't say you need to do specifically for each process, each one of these, etc., etc. And that means that actually then is something that you need to have really competences and knowledge to do it, yeah? That's why in today's webinar, I'm going to show you also some of the things that we have found, and this will give you input how you can better do your threat analysis, especially connected with the transporting. I will also show you that there were some lacks in the threat analysis that is already done in majority of companies, because our idea of doing threat analysis was not set properly, I would say. Yeah, as an auditor for more than 10 years, I would say it also that it was not set properly. So isn't this something that is already regulated? Yes. But is this applied by supply chain? For sure, I tell you no. And I have some evidences to show you today why I'm saying that. What is the problem actually? So in 2024, MFIT International Association for Supply Chain Safety sat down with a small expert team, and of course, as a part of this team and a leader of this team, the idea was to develop a transport hygiene risk analysis, that is GAP modeled analytical framework, with an idea to really see what is going on with this transport and transport hygiene and the overall logistics there. Based on that gap analysis, we said, okay, now when you pass as a company this gap analysis, we will see on which level you are. You will have a percentage success, and based on that percentage success, we will see, are you on a level 1, which means a critical risk? You are just doing some controlling, recording, but no real risk identification. Or maybe you're on a level 3, like a medium risk. Or maybe you are really on a level 5, meaning low risk or even no risk, and you are really best in class company that could give some examples to other companies. But results from 2024 up to 2025 are not so promising, and I will show you. So looking at the MFIT-THR analysis, we selected 7 criteria that we are always checking at the site of the company. And one of these criteria was number 3, which includes evaluation of hazards, threats, and vulnerability analysis, all connected with the transporting processes. Okay, so looking at this, we have set up several sets of questions to only evaluate how company did their threat analysis connected with the transporting process. So based on that, we give, of course, the percentage success, and this is still not, this is just an example that you can see now as a percentage success there, yeah? But the real result will come later. So to each company where we did this THR analysis, we delivered to them the result. In this result, they can see the percentage success per criteria, but also they see percentage success for a total score, which lists this company under level 1, 2, 3, or 5. And our idea is that with this THR analysis, we actually show them what is the problem and, of course, how to solve this problem, with the basic idea that in several years, company can be on a level 4, at least with a percentage success of 75%, which means that they are on a safe line, yeah, that they are on a safe level, and after that, that they will have no problems with transporting, with transport hygiene, with potential contaminations, with potential sabotages, or even fraudulent activities connected with the loaded products. But results for more than 60 companies done in 2024 and from the beginning of 2025 shows us that these levels are really disappointing, meaning that overall score in THR analysis is on level 2, which means that all of these criteria that we evaluated just underperformed what were our expectations, showing that transport is somehow forgotten processes in the food safety and also in a food supply chain. Additionally, one of the worst evaluated with percentage things were, of course, the part of hazard, threats, and vulnerability analysis. And it is only 11%, showing very critical risk. So actually, what was the problem? What was the first problem? The first problem was threat analysis. This is the first problem, because all the certification schemes are saying you need to do the threat analysis. But these threat analyses were not so sufficiently done. So threat analysis just focuses on a process of transport as one process. So everyone would put in their threat analysis saying transport. And then they evaluated the transport. But it's not the only step that you evaluate, because transport includes the loading process, transporting, driving, stopping, parking, unloading, uh, then step of cleaning, sealing, etc. So there are so many steps in this process of transport that you evaluate only as process of transport. And all of these steps are just forgotten. That's why we needed to do something, because there were also a lack of knowledge in the industry how to do that. So we needed to do something, and we said, okay, we need to develop some industry best practice guidelines, and one of those in the middle you can see is food, feed, and chemical defense, protection of critical infrastructure in transport and logistics. So later on, you will have my email, you will have my contact on LinkedIn, you can find me. And if you want to have this guideline, I can share the sample with you so you can see what is inside. Of course, I will mention it today in the webinar, what is inside. But this is an actual solution and the best practice guideline for you. Besides that, there were several guidelines there. One of them we also promoted in the webinars on the Food Safety Fridays regarding inspection of the transport units, and I share some link with you of the previous training also in the chat now. So when we talk about the elements needed for the successful deliberate attack on the transporting process, on your transport, what you need someone who is motivated attacker. It could be a driver, it could be a person doing the loading or doing the cleaning. You need capability or tactics. This means also knowledge how to contaminate something or not to do something to sabotage the transport. And of course, you need the opportunity. Yeah? When all of these three things are there, you have a successful attack. But is this really applicable in every process when we talk about the transport and logistics? Well, this expert team who developed these guidelines said, no, this is not all that is there, because even if attack happens, we have some 4 things that needs to be taken into account, because this is not always delivering products from the producer to the retailer. We are now talking about transporting in tanks and silos, which means that this product goes to another producer. And then we need to think about the consequences. Yeah, that's why we inputted in our own evaluation model, which we say mock model. We said consequence is something that needs to be included. This is the potential impact on the next step in the supply chain, including operational disruption, contamination spread, product rejection, or regulatory involvement. So beside motivation, opportunity, capability, there is also to take into account when you are in the part of the transport and the logistic, what is the consequence? And then we said in this guideline, consequence can be evaluated as very low. This means the issue is contained and the local level downstream operations are unaffected or only minimally delayed. Or it could be a 5, very high, the incident triggers a large-scale recall, regulatory intervention, or poses significant health risk, leading to major commercial damage of business interruption. So how to put that into the threat analysis? So for example, let's say that you don't have a milk in your facility who is producing some kind of product, yeah, candies, for example. And you have a load that is transporting the fructose syrup to you or glucose syrup to you. But the previous load was, for example, milk powder or milk. And nobody or someone at the cleaning station intentionally, knowing that this is allergen, didn't clean properly. Or the ones who are doing the loading didn't do their job properly, intentionally. They didn't check it. They wanted to affect your business, or someone put it inside the allergen inside of your glucose syrup. So then now this glucose syrup is coming to you. You are not testing for specific allergen on the reception, this glucose syrup, and it means that now you have an allergen that is not labeled, not declared in your product, in your candy, and this will affect the people who are allergenic So this is a very high consequence. So that's why I'm saying you always have to calculate, beside all of these things, also a consequence. That's why we changed our approach for logistics and transport in the guideline. But beside the threat analysis, we have also found some other things that are more practical approach, that are more mitigation measures. And this is the application of protection procedures and also the application of the controls. One of the things that is really big question, are the transport companies part of approval process for suppliers? First thing is, how do you do the contracting with your transporters? And in these contracts, do you have set out the clear rules about how to protect your load from loading, during the transporting, until the unloading, and also how to protect the transport unit from any contamination during the cleaning, washing, and after the washing, until it goes for loading? So this could be a very interesting thing to put inside of the contract or inside of the requirement that you send to your transport supplier. Additional things is how your transport is labeled. Is this transport labeled only for food? And how you can remove this sticker maybe? Or are there some rules we mentioned also in the training when we talked about transport design? You can find it also on IFS Quen. We talked about applying the proper labeling for the transport, that it is only for food, depending on the languages, of course. And if in case that this is only for food, it means that only food needs to be transported. If there is any intentional transporting of other products, like for example, mineral oils or even oils like fuels, then this is a big problem and potentially sabotage of your product. Again, when we talk about transport units, what about technical condition as part of the approval process for suppliers? How do you consider the design of the transport? If the design of the transport is not done properly, then there are much more opportunities to do some intentional contamination. And also, is there any some of these things that you just cannot protect during the transporting or loading or unloading, but that you should save yourself during the contracting process? Again, technical condition could be a big problem regarding the transport. If transport is not designed properly, it gives more opportunities for things to happen. It gives more opportunities for things to get sabotaged. One of the things are all of these valves, sealing, leads, for example, that could be squeezed intentionally, and then you have, for example, physical hazard inside of your product. Or one valve that is not intentionally closed during the washing, during the cleaning, or during the transporting could mean that this product goes into other parts of the transporting unit, for example, in the air pipes. And then in the air pipes, you could have a product that remains there and becomes potential contamination potential contamination for the next product. This is also a situation where you could question yourself, is this intentional contamination or accidental contamination? This is part of the pipeline for the air that is used during the unloading of the product, and this air pushes the product outside of the tank, for example. Of course, these pipelines during the transport is filled and the liquids are moving, and then they get and they make this pipeline dirty, of course, from the product. So this means if the washing is not done properly, there could be a remains of product, as you can see in this example, that could contaminate next load with a hard physical hazard, or maybe as a chemical contamination, but definitely as potential microbiological contamination. And you can think about transporting, for example, chocolate. This chocolate is transported on a temperature like 40 Celsius degrees. It's liquid, it moves. This chocolate, then you load it in the transport unit, and then transported for 800 kilometers, 1,000 kilometers. It comes to your factory. You unload it as a hot chocolate, as a 40 degrees. It goes into your tank in your factory, again on the temperature of 40 degrees, and you just spray it on your product. There is no kill step in the factory. So you can imagine if this part is contaminated with salmonella, it could also contaminate the transported chocolate, and it goes directly to your factory. Of course, when we talk about improper washing steps, there could be some intentional contamination due to chemicals, due to plastics, due to metal fragments that could remain or could be intentionally put in the pipelines, in the hoses where the product moves, or the air that is in contact with product moves. And now we come to the part that is forgotten. This is something that I already mentioned is not food business operator. This could be a cleaning station where all of this transport goes for cleaning. It is not handling the food product. Transport goes there empty, dirty, empty, and it goes from there. We hope that it's clean. But how do you apply or how do you approve the process for suppliers of cleaning? Or you say just to transport, you need to be cleaned, and you select the cleaning station wherever you want. So if we talk about the approval process for supplier cleaning, this is something also to take into account, that it doesn't always take care about just contamination from the point of view of food safety, but it could be also connected with the food defense. What if cleaning intentionally is not done properly? Because in these cleaning stations, it's not that only you clean your transport. It could be that also your competitor is cleaning transport, yeah? And he knows that you're cleaning here, and he can say, I could pay you more that you don't clean it sufficiently. In that case, you have a dirty transport, and your 25 or 22,000 liter of product could be ruined. So this is enough to do a sabotage. This is enough for you to lose money or to use credibility at your customer. Again, when we talk about the cleanliness of transport unit there, so you see here the examples inside of the tank. Inside of the tank, it means that it should be clean, but you see here that after even the spray clean, it is not sufficiently clean, and there are remains of this. Can you really notice this when you do the controls on your loading? Of course, traditional checking through the manhole is done visually. That's why we have developed a technology which is called 360 degrees camera, where you go inside, you click it, and it takes a photo that you can zoom in, that you can use it in VR, virtual reality, and you can really check what is going on with the cleanliness inside. But you can also inspect in case that something is put inside of the tank, that you've really checked that there is no contamination possible. So controlling procedures are also interesting. An additional thing are fraudulent activities, or even intentional fraudulent activities, when we talk about some of the manipulations with the cleaning evidences. So when the transport unit comes to your site, and before you do the loading, what you do, you check for potential visually that transport unit is clean. Maybe some of you are taking the samples like ATPs or something like that. But in many cases, what you are checking is that there is a cleaning evidences. And this is one that is organized cleaning evidences, but there are many cleaning evidences really looking just like a confirmation from the cleaning station or wash ticket saying, yes, we washed. But really, what is there as information? What does it mean, for example, kosher purification? What does it mean, duration of cleaning? What is this, if this is a fraudulent information? It says that it is clean for 1 hour, but actually they clean for 15 minutes. Isn't this a sabotage? Also, who is checking that the cleaning was done properly? What about the sealing information? Yeah. Is this sealing information in the cleaning evidence? We will all mention that on next slides. In many cases, as a part of protection companies are saying you should do the sealing, but actually, in reality, is how you do this sealing. Because during these 60 companies, what we have checked more than 200 transport units on process of loading or unloading or cleaning. And in these 200 situations, we had something going wrong with the sealing, or also putting right numbers to its place, or also who is doing the sealing procedure, or controlling unloading or unloading. So in many cases, not just many, in 200 cases of 200, it was done in a wrong way. And I just give you here some of these examples, like different seals, different types of seals. Also, the responsibility of who is doing the sealing. Maybe you didn't ask, but even though you didn't ask, I will tell you. The sealing after the cleaning is done by a driver. This means that the cleaning station, when they do the cleaning, they will give the seals to the driver, and then driver will go and then in front of the cleaning station, or he will go on some parking lot, or he will come even on a parking lot of your company, and then he will go and do the sealing. Yeah, the driver is doing the sealing. The time of this sealing is not evidenced anywhere, and in between the sealing or the cleaning until the sealing, everything can happen. This means that the driver or someone else can open the transport, can put something inside, some powder contaminant, or do some kind of sabotage of this transport unit, and it comes at your side for loading, and it's really hard on the controls that you can control it properly. Beside that, even when seals are there, I tell you that in 100 cases of 100, it failed. So there is no success rate in this case. In many cases, even when there are seals, we manage to open the doors. We manage to open even the hoses. As you see here, this pipeline is sealed, but then we successfully open it. Yeah, even with not destroying the seal. So why the seal is there? What is going on there? Additionally, this is also the situation where you see that everything is really sealed properly. It really looks nice. But then on a second photo, you see that we successfully open again this line for air, and we can put something inside. Maybe some powdered material or some oil or something that will contaminate the product. And you can imagine that this is 22,000 liters or 25,000 liters or even more, and then you contaminate it with a small amount, you just sabotage this product. It cannot be used anymore. That's why transport cleaning, defense in transport is gaining such an interesting point, and it must be controlled. You can imagine these situations, what we came to. Yeah, who put the seal here? What are the blue seals for? What are the white seals for? Mainly white seals are used for chemicals, but then blue seals are used for food. And then on one transport unit, you have all kind of different seals. So you can imagine what was the previous load. So this gives also opportunities for any kind of intentional contamination or sabotage. What about the parking? So in many cases, when we are traveling on the highway, we can see this transport parked there because, of course, you know, the drivers, they have some limitations, how much they can drive, and then they need to rest. And of course, there are parking lots where they are parked. And in many cases, the president, Hans-Dieter Filipowski of MFIT, he would stop, or I would stop, or our colleagues, and then we talk with the drivers, can we go around the transport and see how it is sealed, or does seal exist? And then you find all kind of funny and interesting situations. Of course, the driver are those who are responsible. Sometimes the drivers are coming from different countries, which means that they really have struggles with the language that is used, and then it could be a problem also about applying the seals, making the right places where to put these seals, and it just emphasizes the need for a structured system. Again, coming back, not in a cleaning station, but coming back to the site. When we go to the site, what we have the loading and unloading processes. which means that this transport needs to enter to your site. And what are you checking on this site? Yeah, how are you checking the parts for the food defense? First of all, who entered your site with a truck? Is there only a driver in the truck, or are there any additional people there? Who is controlling that? Are these transports announced? Or there is a transport just coming on your side that is not announced? Or who is getting this information that is announced? Yeah, we had the situations, for example, that the transport is announced, that the transport arrived, but it was not actual transport that was announced. It has just a label that is coming from this company. Someone intercepted the information and came for loading, and they have stolen the load. So you can imagine what is going on there. So additional are also what physical and digital security facilities are in place. Do you have cameras, especially on loading, unloading, how you're checking the amount of loaded, unloaded product? How do you check also who is there present on loading, unloading? Is there always only one person? We had a situation that one person is coming and loading the raw milk, and the driver is the one who is coming on site, who is entering. The gates are open automatically. He is attaching the hose. He is starting the loading. He's stopping the loading, he's detaching the hose, and he's putting the seals by himself. Everything done by a driver, no present operator on site. So you can imagine that during all of these steps, there could be some kind of sabotage or contamination. Additional thing that we have found in many of these companies that we visited is the specialized training, just a specialized training for the operators, for the drivers, for the quality department about the transport, but additionally how to apply all of these measures, or how to even apply threat analysis when we are talking about TACCP and food defense. In many cases, we have found that the people in quality departments, the people as operators, the people in food safety teams or food defense teams are not sufficiently competent, are not specialized into evaluating all of these steps that I mentioned today, coming from the cleaning, loading, unloading, and also transporting, parking, and etc. Types of seals are something that could be a big problematic. What types of seals are also interesting to discover, because they have all kind of different numbers. There is different categorization in the hardness of these seals, and then it makes life also worse when your operators have to check this, especially if you are receiving lots of materials from different kind of sites, and then they are using all kind of different seals. This means that these seals are listed in some kind of documents, maybe in transport documents, maybe in cleaning evidences, and they have their own numbers. Sometimes there are 4 seals, sometimes there are 25 seals on a transport unit. So you can imagine how much of a burden it becomes for an operator to check all of these seals, that they are sealed properly, that they are not damaged, and beside that, that all numbers are confirmed also in this documentation. And then what we have also found out is what happens if one number is not confirmed. What happens if there is a seal that is damaged? Will you do the unloading? Will you do the loading? Yeah, these procedures are really not implemented in a good way. Even if in a procedure it is written, if there is missing seal or the number is not okay, we will not do the unloading or the loading. Companies in all the cases did the loading or unloading. They just approve it. They haven't done any additional controls, and we have seen a really lack of awareness when it comes to a food defense. So, as you know, I like to be practical. I like to be transparent. And this is why I want to show you what is fast solution. Fast solution is connected with the, of course, mitigation measures. First thing is that you do a real threat analysis, which would include the mock system that we have developed in our guideline, and you include several of these things to really test your transport and logistics. The second thing, beside this evaluating mitigation measures, is also to use some of the activities to protect your load. We have a cooperation with a company that is called Bulk Vision, and over there we have a digital system provided security and transparency, which means that all transport unit will have a sticker on them, which gives them a copy, or let's say a twin in a digital way, and this is like the ID of the transport unit. And in this ID, every information of the steps where the transport went, from cleaning, loading, unloading, and sealing, is recorded. This is also connected with something that is called digital seals, meaning that every time that the seal is put there, it is recorded in a digital system and connected to the specific transport unit. This is, of course, connected with the training, coming back to that, and the responsibility is clear who is doing the sealing. Of course, this software can be used in all kind of different, of course, simple smartphones, no matter if it's iPhone or other, some kind of smartphone or tablet. And it gives opportunity that your operator on loading, unloading, or those who are doing the sealing, like cleaning, for example, operator, they can seal it very fast, they can add it very fast in the system. And of course, if it's part of loading, unloading, they can check it very fast and confirm it in the system that they are all there. Of course, this transfers the responsibility to the system, and people will just do the operation. Yeah. So you don't need some very hard trainings on this. It can be very simply applied. And then, of course, when we talk about the guideline, what is actually inside the new guideline? We have introduced the food defense importance. We have introduced the food defense mechanisms, how to perform threat analysis, MFIT model of threat evaluation. We have also introduced the easy steps to integrate food defense into existing systems. This means that you already have some kind of system, but how to implement a new thing or how to improve, how to make food defense plans. And of course, in this guideline, we have forms and documentation templates inside. We have also simulation exercises, how to exercise, how to test your food defense plan. And of course, additionally, instructions, checklists, reports, and plans are there. Several groups of threats are covered in guideline, explaining specifically for process of transport and logistic, and it includes also malicious contamination of food, malicious contamination intended to harm businesses, extortion, espionage, cybercrime, etc. This mock model evaluates each it identified threat scenario using 4 core dimensions, which is motivation, opportunity, capability, and consequences. And based on that, you get a total threat score, which gives you opportunity to implement some of the measures. Of course, in this guideline, we also put the measures actually. Yeah. Regarding these steps in the MFIT, we also gave you some templates, how to define the food defense team, some security or a broad security checklist, threat identification, mitigation control measures, monitoring plan, incident response protocol. Actually, you have all of these templates inside of the guideline. And in the appendix, we added some of more information for you. Some of the simulation exercise examples, some of the checklists filled out, MFIT instruction for food defense, proper sealing and use. And with this, we had the opportunity to, of course, put everything connected in one supply chain, meaning that from the cleaner, you can apply clear cleaning programs using of the seals connected with the digitized system and in one cleaning evidence, which is protected by blockchain from any kind of fraudulent activities. Then this is all connected with the transport unit, which has its own global identification number with the GID sticker. Of course, the transport unit is designed and, of course, certified and checked And for each transport unit, for the first time, what we have defined is the sealing plan, which means that every transport unit in the future will have exact sealing places where to seal it. So it will not be for the same transport, sometimes 3 seals, sometimes 5 seals. It will be always set as the same number of seals. If it's 8, it's always 8. So it gives opportunity for the loader to easily check it, and he can just unseal only part of these seals and seal it with another part which is automatically added to the same system, to the same documents, and then it goes to the unloader. So it makes life easier. And with this, we are finalizing. Just one final word from my side is that MFIT is really doing the best in last several years to show safety and security for the transporting of food and for the food supply chain. Of course, you will have here the connection to MFIT website. You will have here my email. I will also type it for you in the chat box. Just a second. You can connect with me via email, or you can connect with me via LinkedIn, and I will share with you samples of this guideline. And of course, I will answer to all of your additional questions. So with this, we are finalizing for today the webinar, but if you have any questions, for sure, we can answer it now.
Yep. Okay. Quite a few people asked about certificate. Everybody wants a certificate. You will get a certificate. He was asking for a certificate from the beginning. You watch it first, take part, and then you get the certificate at the end. But yeah, we always provide a certificate for Food Safety Fridays, but you do have to add your own name. But next year, we might be bringing in a feature where you can get your name on it. But for now, you have to add your own name. Okay.
Great.
Question from Humphreys. Humphrey, what is the best strategy to prevent internal employee threats?
So the best strategy, I think I already explained. One of the things are these protection measures. Let's say that when we talk about loading, unloading, or cleaning, that there is at least some kind of video surveillance, or at least that always 2 persons are present there on this step of loading, unloading. It doesn't have to be that both persons are from the same department. Maybe for loading, unloading, you have an operator, but also person from quality department coming there so that they control each other. And of course, appropriate training for that is specialized for these persons working on loading, unloading. These are the great things to prevent internal employee threats. And of course, employees need to be satisfied with the work.
Okay, thanks. Question from Francis. Do you expect transport contractors to have carried out HACCP analysis as part of the contractual and supplier assurance process?
Yes, Francis, and not just to have HACCP analysis. I expect from them to be certified. For example, if you are certified SQF, BRC, IFS, these certification schemes will ask from you that your transporting and logistic companies are also certified by these standards. Or if they are not certified, then you have to do the supplier auditing of this logistic. When we talk about the cleaning stations, I would expect that cleaning stations apply minimally HCCP. But then we come to another problem. HCCP is not something that is applicable to the cleaning stations because they are not handling the product. So the processes, what they do in a cleaning station, is not applicable by Codex Alimentarius. That's why you have another guideline there we developed, which is called Hygiene Risk Management System, that is applicable for the cleaning station. So what you can do, you can ask for the cleaning station, if you are working for me, you need to have applied this HRMS system, or we have a certification scheme that is called HiQF. You can also ask from them that they are certified HiQF.
Okay, super. Just a note to everybody, can you put your questions in the Q&A rather than in the main chat, because it might get missed. Question from Desiree, how can GPS tracking contribute to food defence during transportation?
Well, it can contribute that you know where the transport is, yeah? But it cannot contribute in a way that this transport needs to stop because of some regulations. For example, I already mentioned you have a driver who needs to stop after, let's say, 8 hours and then have his rest. And this means the GPS will show you that he stopped, yeah? And that he stopped on the route, that he's not somewhere else. But with the GPS, you cannot find out what is actually going on with the transport back or with the load, yeah? That something could be open, sabotaged, or something like that. So GPS just show you the location of the transport, movement, and it could definitely help you in some part of lowering the risk, but it doesn't save you from actually risk happening.
A question from Wanda. Does anyone have any food fraud risk assessment willing to share?
Wanda, if you wrote an email to me, I can share this sample guideline. In this sample of the guideline, you will have some of the introduction for the food defense threat assessment regarding the transport and logistics.
Queue lots of emails to Vladimir.
Yes, I know.
You're just saying you had so many today. Laura, if the tanker has a sterile filter on it but is not used in the loading transport process because the content does not need to be aseptic, should the sterile filter always be included into the wash cycle before use to avoid any unwanted debris from previous loads? If not in contact, and the valve for sterile filter is closed.
Laura. Yes.
Is that it? Yes.
Yes.
Excellent.
Because the sterile filter is not actual sterile filter on the transport units. Please take it out. Always you have a small QR code. You can scan it and you can go and check it. So this sterile filter is mainly used for the air to push the product. Yeah. So you will see when you go a little bit into this design of the for what actually sterile filter is used, that he's always on the way. And sometimes when you open really to see the sterile filter is not there. Yeah, because they remove it to speed up the process of loading or unloading. So this sterile filter is also a problem, and this is a really good question. That's why I said, yes, always it needs to be cleaned properly. It needs to be changed in a regular time intervals.
Okay, question from Sandra. Is there a way to link the seals with the satellite monitoring system?
Yes, there is a way to do that, but there is even easier way with this bulk vision, because every time when it's scanned, it shows the exact location where this was scanned. So this is actually satellite monitoring system, because everything is at the end connected with that.
Okay, got you. Marina, how do you transport dry ingredients LTL with seal, not full?
Not full trailer. So with existing systems where you have these multiple seals, multiple loadings, for example, you will get all kind of different sealing then, yeah? Which means that cleaning station will put white seals with one numbers, and then the transport will go to one loading place, load maybe one part of the transport unit or one chamber in the whole silo, and then only for that chamber they change the seals to some other seals, and then when it comes to the loading place, it has dozens of different seals. Nobody knows how to follow that. Yeah, the way how we overcome this problem is having these digital seals, which means that you can remove and add seals as much as you like on every of these steps, and they are all connected to one transport unit identification number, and with the software system which follows on which point the seals were added and who added them. Yeah.
Okay, question from Tosin. For shared loading delivered to different companies making sealing inapplicable, what is suggested for food defense control?
Yes, this is what I already mentioned for share loading. Also as a loading for this dry ingredients. This is the same thing.
Okay.
Sealing is applicable always.
Okay. Laura, will you be doing a webinar on all things cleaning stations, covering certificates, cleaning cycles, cleaning station approvals, what cleaning cycles to be applied, and when, for example, what codes should be applied under VDF1, VDF2 clean, etc.?
We actually already did it. So if you go back on the Food Safety Fridays and you list a little bit, you will see over there the trainings that I have done. You have the validation of cleaning, transport design, cleaning programs, high QF certification. You will find maybe in this year or in 2024, but we have already done several of these topics that is interesting for you.
I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll link it in the follow-up email to make it easier.
Yeah, perfect.
Question from Irfan. How can we say life cycle of clean tank means will remain clean for 4 to 5 hours?
No, actually, Irfan, if proper cleaning procedure is applied, clean tank can be clean up to 72 hours. So we have validated this, we have tested this. In a webinar I shared here in the chat, you will find the link. We did this validation and we confirmed that the tank can be, after cleaning and sealed, can be safe for 72 hours, after which you can do the safely the loading of next product. But the cleaning procedure, cleaning program needs to be applied properly, and these are the MFIT cleaning programs that we have developed.
Okay, Kate, are best practice cleaning guidelines for rail car tankers the same as truck tankers?
Yes, it's similar procedures. It can be applied by MFIT cleaning programs, yes. You will find on MFIT website also cleaning programs that are applicable for all kind of different transporting units.
Okay, good. Tariq, any countries is application of this approach? Any countries is application of this approach in food security?
Yes, several countries in Europe are already applying this approach. Especially we are working with BFR in Germany about analyzing potential risks. So, yeah, it's not an easy job to do, but definitely it goes on its way.
Okay, Irfan, how can we check the mind of driver know anything wrong or he knows anything wrong done?
We do it in a way that we remove all the responsibilities for the transporting of load from the driver. He is only doing the driving. So you put the responsibility of the cleaning on the cleaners and responsibility of the sealing on the cleaners. You put the responsibility of loading, unloading on the site, and also the sealing on the site, and the driver is just doing the driving.
Okay, if anybody's put a question in the chat, you need to move it to the Q&A, put it in there, or else we won't pick it up. Tosin, for sharing loading...
Yeah, we answered this. We can go next. This is for shared loading. We already answered.
Sorry. Anurag, how can I prepare for any van accident during transportation and safety food transport in frozen products?
I don't know. Maybe insurance. But how can you prepare for any van accident during transportation? Yeah, we are not talking here. We are talking about the food defense, not accidents as a car accidents. Yeah. Safely drive the load. Do the training of the driver properly. Select your drivers properly. Install the video surveillance during the driving that follows the road, and also could be a sensors for opening, closing the transport.
Okay. Slightly off topic. Where can we get trained and certified in ISO, SQF, among other certificates?
This is not question. This is question for your side.
Yeah. Well, we don't. IFSQN don't actually do any training for ISO and SQF.
Yeah. Maybe this is something we should start doing.
Perhaps we should actually. Yeah. I think talk to your certification body, really.
Yeah. That's the best. Go to your certification body, ask them, or go on the site of SQF, for example. They probably have some approval for training companies, and you can find it there.
That's true. In the suppliers directory. Good point.
Yeah.
Stephen Lee, is there any specific EU legislation covering dairy transportation pre-2020 Brexit aside from 178 and 852?
Well, Stephen, this is one which is general, and then you have directives that are for a special type of products. But no, any of these directives are not talking about transportation. Actually, yeah, the rules for transportation remain the same.
Okay, Alan. Our bulk transport provider has ISO 22000 third-party approval. Is this sufficient? Do drivers undertake formal food defence training to comply with this certification?
So, Alan, ISO 22000 doesn't cover food defense inside. So this means they don't have food defense. Yeah. This is something you need to add additionally in your contract. So this is not sufficient. In this case, drivers, they do not pass any training regarding food defense because it's not obligatory. ISO 22000 is a good standard for food safety, but actually not so much applicable for the transporting processes, and it becomes at the end only formality. I would ask from these transporters that they are certified by IFS, BRC, SQF, etc., so it shows more seriousness, or you should audit this supplier, how they are handling all of these processes.
Okay. Angela, most carriers are contracted. Which ones are you working with to use the GPS tags?
I'm not really understanding the question.
Okay, maybe if you can clarify your question, Angela. Irfan said 72-hour also good for milk tankers.
Yeah, if we talk about the milk, if you do a proper cleaning, you will find on MFIT webpage the procedures, and there is MFIT, I think it's called Program P300, which explains all the steps. If the cleaning is done in a cleaning station that is approved according to this procedure, then it can be saved for 72 hours before next loading. But once again, I will tell you, for all the procedures that you want to apply, you need to validate it. So do the cleaning, close it, take samples after the cleaning, take samples after 24 hours, swab samples for microbiology, and take samples after 72 hours, send it to laboratory. If they confirm everything okay, then you have your own confirmation that your cleaning procedure is okay.
Okay. Asif, what should be the correct action in case of sealing is done the wrong way unintentionally, as you have shared in the photo? Should the load and unload be the same?
This is a very good question. For me, I will not continue with load or unload. Definitely. Because I don't know what is done. Yeah. Who could be opening this or what happened? Definitely. If number is missing, no loading, unloading. If something is damaged, no load or unloading. If they're doing the sealing, seals are there, numbers are there, but not properly as shown on the pictures, then I would ask for them once. I will send to them these photos and I will say, please do the sealing properly. We expect from you that you train your people who are doing the sealings with the proper training, and we expect that you deliver to us these training evidences. Or they can call the MFIT, do this training for them and develop the procedures for them, and we deliver the evidences to you.
Okay, perfect. Okay, that's it for questions. Unless anybody's got one, but I'll just load the certificate in the sidebar that you do need to add your own name at this moment in time. We'll follow up with an email shortly afterwards with a recordings, slide, certificate, but also I'll link the other webinar. What was it called?
We have several. I already put a link for the cleaning validation, and we have one that was for the transport design, and I think we have high QF certification something earlier.
I'll link those up.
There are several, we have done.
I'll include that in the follow-up email. So, thanks very much. Brilliant.
Yeah.
We've run a bit over. Well worth it. Excellent. I'll speak to you soon, Vladimir. Have a nice weekend, and same to everybody. Thanks for joining today.
Thank you all. Have a safe day, weekend, and enjoy.
See you. Bye-bye.
But